Welcome to my cockpit. I'm your host and narrator, Captain Tobias Steele. Relax with me as I take you on a sensual and exciting voyage across the galaxy. Unleash your science fiction fantasies with these action-packed tales featuring mature and provocative adventures. Viewer discretion is advised. The Darkstar Commandos. Story 4. Transporting Delegate Socox. 60 cycles after the battle at Antaeus Prime, Earth's Darkstar Commandos became humanity's special delegates and security to the Galactic Alliance. During the war between Earth and Xeondrax, underground factions saw opportunities for plunder. With Galactic Alliance peacekeeping security forces spread thin, pirates and raiders seized the opportunity to strike Alliance and other galactic species shipping routes. When the ceasefire occurred between Earth and Xeondrax, raider attacks subsided as Alliance forces refocused their attentions. During this time, the Galactic Alliance outsourced security details to Earth's Darkstar Commandos to provide additional safety for their diplomatic transports. The Alliance retained the commando services even after the ratification of Earth and Xeondrax's peace treaty. On one such security assignment, Darkstar Commando Xavier Stevens was at the helm of a Class A 7 Alliance transport vessel. His assignment: escort Delegate Socox from an Alliance hub to Star Cluster Proxima BB-D space station, a short 2-hour journey. Yet every traveler understood one truth: no route was ever truly safe. At any moment, raiders could strike without warning. This mission carried even greater risk. Delegate Socox held incriminating evidence of corruption among a faction of Galactic Alliance delegates. He knew who they were, and they were on to him. A full escort Alliance detail would be a death sentence, a glaring beacon of his location and intention to his enemies. Instead, he chose secrecy over security. Slipping away quietly with the evidence was his best chance of survival. If he failed, the corruption within the Alliance would be buried, and so would he. Delegate Socox came up with the idea to go to Proxima BB-D space station. There he would take a transport back to his home world of Declauticus. As a peaceful and passive species, Docilians stood about 5 feet tall. They had greenish-orange skin and gave an appearance of an older or aging man. Their thin, humanoid bodies appear fragile due to their light bone density, making them look almost waifish. Despite their delicate frames, they have large hands and feet, slightly oversized compared to their bodies. They have secured special protections within the Galactic Alliance, ensuring their safety against more aggressive civilizations. Their gentle, cautious demeanor, however, does not equate to weakness, as they are highly intelligent, known for their keen problem-solving skills and adaptability. Commando Stevens stood at the boarding ramp, arms crossed over his large chest, his security detail armor tailored to his muscular frame, accentuating his augmented physique. His broad shoulders and thick, powerful arms looked as though at any moment he could crush steel. Yet he moved with stoic control, a paradox of dominance and restraint. He offered Delegate Socox a reassuring half-smile, with a quiet confidence that could melt through the coldest of defenses. Socox felt his breath hitch as he stepped closer, unable to suppress his species' instinctual reaction. For a split moment, he wanted to cower at the sheer force of presence the commando exuded. Standing at over 8.5 feet tall, Commando Stevens was more than just a commando. He was a monolith of masculinity. His dark eyes, deep and unwavering, locked onto Socox with an intensity that was almost hypnotic. Stevens had been trained for this. He understood how his presence alone could unsettle, intimidate, or entice diplomatic interactions. But today, his focus was on reassuring. Slowly, deliberately, he slightly bowed and placed a massive hand on the small of Socox's back. Stevens' thick fingers spread wide across the velvety fabric of Socox's cloak. The touch was firm, yet devastatingly gentle, a contrast that sent an unexpected shiver through Socox's spine. Stevens guided him forward to his seat, his voice low and smooth, like rolling thunder softened by distance. "We'll have safe travels, Delegate. You're in my care now." The words held weight, but it was the way Stevens said them, intimate, close, as though they were meant just for him. It made something tighten in the pit of the Delegate's stomach. As the ship exited the launch bay, Stevens turned to him once more, that same half-smile lingering on his lips. It wasn't just a reassurance. It was a promise of protection, of control, of something Socox wasn't entirely sure he wanted to name just yet. Stevens entered in their coordinates, engaged the hyperdrive, and they were off into the void. Halfway through their trip, an urgent blip rang out across the console. Long-range sensors detected multiple unregistered ship signatures, Tangali raiders. Commando Stevens' jaw tightened as he scanned the data. Their vessel, a Class A-7 Alliance stealth transport, was cloaked, but he knew certain high-grade scanners could still detect their presence. He took immediate evasive action, adjusting their course in a sharp attempt to slip away unnoticed. Too late. A shrill alarm punctuated the cockpit, confirming what Stevens already knew. Their stealth had been compromised. "They've got us," he muttered, his deep voice unnervingly calm despite the chaos. From the co-pilot seat, Delegate Socox let out a shaky breath, his delicate hands gripping the chair's arms. He had been through diplomatic turmoil before, but this was different. "Hold tight," Stevens warned, and without another word, he yanked the controls, forcing the vessel into a hard, gut-wrenching dive. Socox gasped as the gravitational compensators struggled to keep up. The muscles in Stevens' massive arms flexed, his grip firm and unyielding, the tendons in his forearms taut like steel cables. Despite himself, Socox felt a heat rise in his chest, a combination of fear and something else entirely. But there was no time for distractions. The raiders had locked on. As a commando, Stevens welcomed battle. However, he attempted to keep himself composed as his first priority was the Delegate's safety. Still, it was hard for him to contain his enthusiasm. The three enemy ships closed in, their scarred, predatory hulls glinting against the starlight. If they noticed it was an Alliance transport ship, they wouldn't want to destroy the transport. Not yet. They would want prisoners. "Not today, assholes," Stevens growled as he activated the ship's automated missile defense system, the ship's shields deflecting the raiders' plasma blasts. A sharp whir filled the cabin as the targeting system engaged. The moment the first raider ship entered the kill zone, Stevens took a hard right, sending their vessel into a controlled spin that flung them into a perfect attack position. He slyly said, "Come to Daddy," smiling as he locked on. He fired. The missiles hit their target. A stunning eruption of light tore through the blackness as the first enemy ship burst apart, its debris scattering in a violent shockwave. The remaining two raiders split in opposite directions, attempting to flank him. Stevens, grinning, welcomed the challenge. He jerked the controls hard, pulling the transport into an aggressive roll, slamming them through the wreckage of the first ship. Twisted metal scraped along the deflector shields as Stevens expertly threaded the chaos. Socox, clutching the sides of his seat, gasped, his breath shallow, his pulse frantic. But as he watched, the sheer precision and ferocity of Stevens' piloting skills became something mesmerizing. "You're brilliant, Stevens," Socox shouted over the alarms. "Your skills are impeccable." Never taking his intense gaze off the battle ahead, Stevens responded sarcastically. "Thanks, you can suck me off later, but first, we gotta survive this shit." Socox's eyes widened in confusion. Before he could respond, the raider ship swooped in for the kill. The enemy fighters cut across his path, unleashing a storm of plasma fire that Stevens barely dodged. The heat from the blasts caused the cockpit to flare red, bathing them both in an eerie glow. Stevens gritted his teeth, his entire body filled with raw focus and controlled violence. "You want to play?" he murmured darkly. "Let's play." He cut the engines, a dead stop. The raiders, caught off guard, shot past them. That was all Stevens needed, full throttle. The ship surged forward, aligning perfectly behind the two enemies, a predator locking onto prey. Stevens smashed the trigger, his chest rising and falling with steady, measured breaths as he let loose a barrage of fire. The rounds showering both vessels. The raiders' ships erupted, sending shards of metal spiraling through the void. The ships were reduced to nothing but scattered wreckage in the endless dark. In the aftermath, silence filled the cabin. The alarms faded. The only sound left were the sharp inhales and exhales of breath coming from Delegate Socox. Stevens finally turned, his smoldering half-smile creeping back onto his lips as he looked at Socox. "See? I told you. You're in my care." Socox smiled, still attempting to catch his breath. The end of part 1. Please feel free to leave a comment, like, or subscribe. It helps share this story with other science fiction listeners. To view part 2, click the thumbnail on the screen or visit the playlist. As always, thank you for watching.